Hello, everyone out there in G Plus, Facebook, YouTube land. This is Bella Vasta, and I am joined with Heather out in New Jersey from Trusty Tales. Heather, how are you?
Good. How are you? Good to
I'm
see you.
wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Um, Everyone, I'm here with Heather because I've coached lots of people, but Heather has really stood out to me. She contacted me a couple months ago and is such a go-getter that she was like, we need to do this twice a week. Um, Almost everything that we talked about, like that night, she was implementing. She reminded me a lot of myself when I'm not pregnant and have lots of energy. Um, she was just incredible. She was inspiring to me, so I knew she'd be inspiring to you, and that's why I begged her to join me here today. So, Heather, thank you for coming outside of your comfort zone to do this interview with me and help inspire business owners and pet sitters around the world.
No, thanks for having me here today.
Totally. So we have a list of questions here. I'm just going to kind of go through them. You can feel free to add to whatever you'd like. Um, Give us a background and describe to whoever's listening or watching, where were you when we first started working together, and what about coaching made you say, okay, let me try this out?
Okay. Um, let's see. I've been in business since 2006, and basically my business has just been pretty much like chugging along, growing and growing and growing, and I think it would have continued to do so. But I was really ready to step it up internally in terms of like how I was managing things, and didn't know what to do or what to change, and I was a little frustrated. I needed an outside opinion on how to help me get certain processes and things straightened out a bit. So when I came across you, I thought I'd give you a ring.
So what it sounds like is you were kind of stale. You kind of felt like,
Yes.
kind of running out of steam, not really just stale, like bread that's been sitting out. It's still good, but I don't know. Um, what specifically wasn't working, or specifically were your challenges that you wanted to fix?
So basically, I came to you with three to four different main issues that I wanted to work on. One was pricing and my margins. Since I've been doing this since 2006, I pretty much never changed my prices, but my margins, as I continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger, my margins for my company were shrinking terribly in terms of like what was coming home to me. So I wanted to fix that. Also, my hiring process and my employee responsibilities were a bit broken, and a lot of the task was remaining on me. So I wanted to fix that. And then internally, my office support, how I pay them, how I structure them, and what their roles were or roles are. We're
I
just
love how that you're using those hand gestures because that's something that we discussed a lot. I was like, well, here's your business and here's the labor and here's you. Like, there's no room for you. Let's make some
exactly.
room for you. So that's really cool that you're like using those hand gestures because that was a big part of what we worked on. Um, so what kind of things did you need help changing? I mean, you needed to change the pricing structure, so I guess that's kind of answering it, um,
Mhm.
and to get it working more efficiently. So what were our sessions like? People out there might be wondering like, well, how does it actually work and what do you do? And I mean, what were our sessions like? Were they strict? Were they like school? Were they like just chatting? Tell people what your impression was.
I would say a casual school. I guess would be the best way to describe it. I'm very task focused, so in the beginning, before anything started, I had emailed you with my list of tasks that I wanted to accomplish at the end of, and all the sessions that I signed up with you for. So I would say that we kept going back to those that list and ticking them off as we answered all our questions. Our sessions usually I think I signed up for an hour long, and I totally loved it from the beginning. As you said before, I signed up for two a week because basically after the first week, I signed up. You gave me homework. I worked on this for a couple days, and then I had it, and then I was left, twiddling my thumbs for a couple days, for like 5 days, waiting. When's the next session? When's the next session? So after, our next session, I was like, let's, keep the momentum going and sign up for two sessions a week so I could just like roll things out. Because once you get that energy and stuff going, it's like, why slow it down?
Exactly, and you want to stay with the momentum. Everybody has a different like momentum or jive, and that's why when I do work with people, I always tell people that we have to work at least once a week, because if it's not once a week, I think people kind of lose it. They're like, oh, I can do it in 10 days, the homework that is. Speaking of which, what kind of homework did you have?
Well, actually, I liked the homework.
You're a dork. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's good.
I
That's really good, though.
am passionate about my business, and I can spend hours talking about it. So doing homework was, it was exciting. One of the homework assignments that you first had me do was put together a spreadsheet, and you were like, "I want to see margins, I want to see numbers." So I spent like several hours putting together a whole spreadsheet of how my pricing structure was, what percentage I'm getting, what percentage is going to the employees, and all this. And it was this big giant spreadsheet that I came to on our next meeting. And by the time we were done with it, it was this teeny little spreadsheet that was like really zeroing in all the so that's what I really liked about it, because I spent all this time doing all this, which was a great exercise. But at the end of the day, we were able to just like zero on in on what was important and fix like how I was. I had all these add-ons that were unnecessary, undercharging,
It
and
was complicated, right?
very very complicated, very complicated. So just spending some time going through that exercise made me even realize, wow, this is really complicated the way I have it set up.
That's one of the tough things I've learned doing this is that it's really easy to tell you, hey, this is what you need to do, because there are proven methods that have worked, like all around the country, from like Detroit to New York City to Australia. It doesn't really matter where you are. It's the business of pet sitting. It's not rocket science. We're not selling widgets. It's really the same, and the only really big drastic changes I see are between the companies that do a lot of pet sitting versus a lot of city dog walking, like you. Um, the other cool thing I want to bring to focus is that even though we're almost 3,000 miles away, it was actually really easy to work with you because we used this Google Voice or this Google Hangout, so we were able to do it face to face as if we were sitting at a table together. And we also used Google Docs. So when you were creating all of those spreadsheets, we were able to literally be on the same document and see each other's cursors and like, okay, well, what if we change this price to this one? And the formulas were already in there. So we could like work on it together in real time, which is something that's really important. And it's also really helpful. Not to say that doing it on the phone and by hand when you can't see each other doesn't work, because it does, but it was that much more effective because we made use of the technology and we weren't afraid of it. So
Yeah, and
I
I really enjoyed the Google Hangout and doing things, live on a video. It really makes a difference to be able to see your expressions when I say something, and you be like, no, or something, and you see that I'm like worried and stressed versus, just like having a phone call. It's a lot different talking to
yeah, I was a comm major, and they say that 93% of communication is actually nonverbal. So, you
yeah.
know, and when we're online all day long, on Facebook or email, it is nice to get that full picture so that you can really see someone's soul in their eyes almost. Um, so what kind of mental shift did you have to make? Was it hard? And was it hard to trust Jump Consulting? Like, was it hard to trust me? Like, tell tell me or anyone who's listening, what kind of mental barriers did you have to get through? Because change is always difficult. You're used to doing, chugging along on one speed, and then someone says, "Oh no, you got to go this way," and it might feel a little weird. But tell me about your processing of all of that.
So, from a motivation standpoint for me, I've always been very self-motivated. So, and as an entrepreneur, I think you kind of have to be if you want to like get from point A to B. But as far as like a mental shift for me, I think it was just like you gave me the push that I needed, I guess, to make the changes. Anytime you do change is scary. But sometimes I think as an entrepreneur, you have to be willing to make change quick. You can always change back or change it a different way. That's the beauty of owning your own business. But you're never going to get anywhere if you don't try anything new. So
Yeah.
here I came to you with a list of problems, and I'm like, I don't know what my options are. And you gave me some options, and I tried them, and That's that's the only way you figure out if things are going to work or not is if you try it.
I love that. And it actually plays a lot into um, the background of why I call this jump consulting. I don't tell this story enough, but and you may or may not know it, but I had an opportunity to jump out of a perfectly good airplane at 13,000 feet years back, and I did it. And I have a video to prove it, and it's on the jumpconsulting.net website. But when I was trying to come up with a name and a brand, I really felt like being an entrepreneur is exactly what you just said. You have to be willing, make that change, make that jump. Otherwise, you're going to stay in the same airplane and never get that experience and that thrill of jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, which is terrifying but exciting all at the same time. But when you jump out of an airplane, they don't just push you out by yourself and say, figure it out. There's, for the first couple times at least, someone on your back, telling you when to pull that chute, making sure you land on target and not in the trees and like hanging there, and really get you there safely. So that's really what I wanted this jump consulting to be. It is terrifying and it's crazy to make changes, but if what you're doing right now isn't working, you've got to do something. And the things that we do aren't drastic. They're not. Um, they're not going to like kill your business the next day. Nothing that we do isn't something that you can't undo, and it's in stages, right? I mean, it wasn't like all of a sudden one day we said, you're changing this. You kind of gradually changed it, although there were a couple of things you came back that night and you're like, I told my employees we're not doing this anymore. I was like, whoa, that was fast. But it's all up to you. I mean, it's self-paced, and you have to be willing to take that step out of fear and into the unknown in order to make any kind of difference or change. Um, so, what advice would you give to other people who are stale? I mean, and this isn't a commercial necessarily for Jump. Like, I don't have all the answers, and I'm definitely not the best pick for everybody. I mean, I am pretty in your face, and some people don't like that, and that's okay. But just in general, Heather, what would you say to anyone? What would you say to yourself, like that week before you contacted me, and you were trying to figure out something needs to change because it's getting a little stale and it's not working, and I haven't done anything, but I'm not sure what to do. What would you tell yourself back then?
I would say that you don't get anywhere in life by living in fear. You have to try new things. You have to give it a shot. Being stuck in a rut gets boring and it gets you nowhere. So just trying new things. You can just try. Like all the way down to something simple for me is like how I organized my keys was a total disaster, and having people constantly picking up and dropping off keys for certain pet visits. And we worked through that and organized it. In a couple days, I had it done, and I am saving hours of time. And it was just a simple thing that I never thought about on how to manage it differently.
Tell us more about that. What were you doing, and then what did you change to be doing?
So I always had everyday dog walkers keep their regular sets of keys. But then when they would take off, they'd be bringing me their keys, and I'd be giving them their keys out. Cat customers who only use me kind of infrequently, I was holding onto the keys, giving them out when they were needed. And then I had these big, huge boxes that were alphabetized by A through Z. After we were done talking, I mean, and this is thousands of keys. I have like 500 customers. So
500 customers, if everyone heard that, okay? 500, and her sitters were coming every day to her house to pick up and drop off
every
keys.
morning, it was just
Oh,
not for everyday dog walkers, but just it was becoming a nightmare. So I spent a day just on keys, and I organized all of them by ring, just for each walker for backup. So I have little Ziploc bags or drawers now that I can pull out when I need something. It's like quick and easy. I don't have to sift through all the A's. And then the specific cat sitters that I have, or just pet sitters, I'm giving them the two backup sets and letting them hold them, even though they don't have like a particular pet visit going on. There might be something down the road happening, and they just keep them in their own personal log. And then what I also do is I set up a master log for myself, And then I set up sitter logs. So the sitters once a month are responsible for keeping their log up to date, and they have to update this. And then I can, at that time, have my manager just double check and make sure things are where they're supposed to be. And it just saves a lot of time instead of me constantly having to update my log with what they're emailing me and all these changes. I just have it's on them now. They own it.
Right. So basically, it sounds like you had a good system when you were a smaller company, but you grew bigger than your britches and it wasn't working anymore. Your system was actually working against you, which happens with a lot of people that I talk to. You know, they build a business when they're just at 50 clients, and when they get to 500, their structure, their frame is literally cracking. And they're like, this isn't working. I don't know how to do it. It's the typical example of a kid whose shoe is too small. You always want to buy the shoes a couple sizes too big because they're going to grow into them. So what other kind of changes, Heather, did you make in the business that just, helped you become unstale and create that room for yourself with, money? But, I mean, tell me about the effects of it, like with your personal life, with your sitters' happiness, with your office managers who are running the show. Tell us about those shifts that happen that really made a difference.
It's just being coming up with better process and procedures with things internally was really helpful. I worked on a manual for my staff. They came up with rules, like kind of had rules, but nothing was really written out. So I spent several weeks going through that and coming up with process and procedures on how to handle things, how to handle cancellations, how to handle um, just you know
The
I don't know.
flow of things. I think you
Yeah, just
got the
the
employee
general.
quick start. You downloaded that too, and you
Yeah,
probably used.
Quick Start is amazing. Highly recommend that. Read that. Of course. What else did I do? There was like a lot of I standardized the sales process for my manager, like coming up with standardized letters and things instead of having them type or write things out every single time. It's like coming up with just
That's right. I remember we tracked like the hours, and I was like, what are they spending all these hours doing? And you're like, well, she had to email this cat client. And I'm like, and you don't have a template? And she was sitting there trying to recreate the system every single time, and you were paying her for that.
just
So
yeah, exactly.
yeah, so we created those templates and things to make their life easier, right?
Yes, absolutely. And then with pricing, I increased my prices. What I discovered just even talking to you is I was giving my pet service away pretty much. Um, People were coming to me. Everyone was always signing up, which is great because that's how I continue to grow. But I didn't realize I could raise my prices and people would still sign up. So there's some low hanging fruit there that I wasn't even realizing. I raised my prices drastically, probably like 25, 30%. Um, and overnight, overnight I did it. Like we discussed it and went through it. And once we decided what the price was going to be, went ahead and implemented it and tested it.
Talk more about that because that's one of the biggest fears a lot of pet sitters have. And I want to be really clear. I'm not a proponent in trying to tell everyone that they need to raise their prices, but in this situation, the profit margin for Heather was so tiny, and her expenses were over here, and her sitters were over here, and there was no room for her. She was doing all of this work and wasn't being compensated as much as she wanted to be. So we helped make that room for her. When you did raise prices, did you ask permission? Did you tell everyone you were going to do it? Did you, how did you do it? I mean, did you just start telling all new clients? How
So
did that work? Did you give them months ahead in advance notice?
with general customers that were already on board, I raised their prices $2 and I gave them a month's notice. I didn't have a single, I think I maybe had one person complain and it was like, okay, we'll raise your price $1, instead of two.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was just like easy money there. So that brought in a lot. And then for the other pricing, I just said, hey, this is my new price for new customers coming in, and most most people were like, okay, that's your new price because they don't know what other people, are paying. And then some other people might have said, oh, my friend's using you. Well, you just explain like they've been a client of mine for a long time. These are my new prices, and that's how it is. I actually I'm a fan of spreadsheets, so I kept a whole spreadsheet of every single lead that came through, the price we quoted them, what their reason for going with us was, what their reason for not going with us was. And frankly, like if they're just shopping based on price, it's not probably a customer that I'm interested in anyway. Because
Right.
I am a solid company. I have a lot to offer. I spend a lot of time searching for my employees. I provide quality service, and you get what you pay for.
I
So,
love that confidence. That's great, great confidence to hear, you
well,
know? I know what I'm worth.
it feels good. I'm charging what is fair, I think, for the service that I'm offering my customers.
Exactly, exactly. That just makes me so excited because I mean, you literally just gave yourself a 25% raise. If you were working in the corporate world and you said, "Hey, I want to go from 10 to 12.50 an hour," okay? People look at you like you're crazy. I mean, people get like a 5 to 7% raise, I think it is, on average if they get raises right now, if they're not on furlough, you know? I mean, and you as a business owner are really living the dream right now by taking charge of that and giving yourself that. Um, what about your sitters? Was there any effect with your sitters or changes with your sitters or your office staff throughout us working together?
Well, my office staff are just very excited about the different changes that come along. I obviously talk to them constantly. So as we have new things, they're like, "Oh, that's a great idea. This is a good idea. I like this." So it's just a matter of, I do run things by them and see, how do you think this is going to work or that. But yeah, my internal staff is like office staff is very excited about it. My employees, I'm still working on some things. I Your quick start program with the employees and that sort of thing. As I hire new ones, I'm implementing new processes and procedures. I have some people that have been with me for 5, 6 years, so it's kind of hard to backtrack.
Right.
People that have been, doing things a certain way for so long and doing it well. So those people I'm not so focused on. One of the things I've done is I'm running internal competitions now amongst my staff. I have like an internal Facebook program now amongst my staff, just trying to build more camaraderie among them, with prizes and things. I have uniforms, which I kind of had in the past, but didn't do a good job of enforcing. So those actually are supposed to come today. I'm very excited about. So I have just some uniforms. I ran a video competition, so they all came up with the Trust Details um, 30-second video, and they all got to vote amongst each other. So they were excited about that, and I gave them the winner $50 gift certificate to Amazon.
And that was great. That was something that we had talked about because you were a little that come through people's heads are, well, if I raise my rates, am I going to hire it for the dog walker or the new dog walkers that are coming in? They might not be getting paid as much as the existing ones. You're trying to figure out all of that math. And a good way that I always recommend that people do is incentives. $3 for a 30-minute video, $1 for a picture, or something like that. So your staff actually has a fighting chance. And what Heather did, because how many people do you have? Like 25?
Yeah, 25.
Yeah. So what she did was she took it and she goes, okay, guys, I'm going to challenge you all to start sending me 30-second video clips. And here's a kind of guideline of what I'm looking for. Here's what I'm not looking for. And the best, video or the funniest video will win $50. She did it because she wanted to start getting more media for, Facebook or the blogs or whatever, because us as business owners, when we have staff, we're no longer in the field. So getting that kind of stuff from them is still important because people still want to see that in our marketing. But it also creates a fun camaraderie with your staff, and it's a friendly competition, and it makes the mundane dog walking every day something else or something fun to think about. So I'm so excited that you did it. I know at first it was a little slow moving, and you're like, well, I was like, keep going. It's new for them, and you never know. And I'm really glad to hear that it turned out well.
because I had not everyone participated, and the ones that didn't are like, I didn't get to participate. Are you doing another one? I want to do it. So I think I'll be setting up another one soon. They were definitely
I
asking.
love that. That is so cool. That's so cool. Oh, I'm just so excited for you. I mean, when this video kind of came about when Heather emailed me a couple weeks back and she was like, "Hey, thank you so much. This is all the stuff that's been going on." And I just
You got a giant list, huh?
it's awesome and it just makes me so stinking excited because I don't do this because I need to tout my own ego or anything. Like I genuinely like you made my day today just talking to you and getting that energy and seeing that excitement and seeing that your business is thriving and you're achieving the things that you wanted to achieve. That alone makes me so ridiculously happy. It's kind of weird, but that's why I do this. Your success is my success, and there's nothing more frustrating than when you do try to coach someone and they're not really ready for it, and they're kind of fighting every step of the way, and they're not willing to take that leap of faith. And and you did, and I'm so proud of you for doing that. And I love just watching you keep growing. It makes me so excited. So is there anything else that you would like to add? I mean, I could just keep going on asking you questions and questions because I'm a dork about it, but is there anything that maybe we left out or that people should know?
I don't know. I guess like just if you feel like you're stuck in a rut, just look at the areas that you think you need to fix or what the problems are that you get frustrated with. Yeah, and it's great to talk to others in the field and find out how other people are doing them because just because like you're doing it one way doesn't mean it's the best way. I don't know. You just have an open mind.
For sure. For sure. Awesome. Well, Heather, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. If there's anything else I can do for you, you know where to find me. I'll see you in our private Facebook group that we do. Anyone who wants more information can go to jumpconsulting.net and can fill out a contact form and do a free 20-minute consultation with me. Other than that, take care and keep rocking, girl. I'm so proud of you.